Hey folks, this is Aaron, N6ACA. Got a little bored tonight with working FT8. I fired up FLdigi to do a little bit of Feld Hell. One of the cool things about the digital mode is it's not fully digital. It's an analog wobbler mode. So I fired up um, FLdigi using FLrig to control the radio. You basically set the op mode in FLdigi just to hell and Feld hell. And there you go. You can operate. Your radio's in USB, so you're on upper sideband, and that's how you work it out. And so right now it's looking at the spectrum where I've got it set, so it's about at 1500 hertz within the audio passband. And right now we can see the strip right here that's coming in. So that is over time. And so what we're going to do is we're going to call CQ right here. So FLdigi has sequences where same for all the different digital modes, where it's going to call CQ, from DE N6ACA, and so it basically comes through like a strip, like the old label makers, and will transmit there. And when someone is responding to your CQ, they basically they dial it in on the center of your frequency so that when they respond, you basically come in the same strip. Because this, at one point, was a physical mechanism for transmitting stuff. And so you were actually sort of transmitting from a typewriter type device into a paper strip printer. Is developed by the Germans at some point 100 years ago. I don't know. You can look on Wikipedia. Um, and so right now we're doing it digitally through the computer, but the audio mechanism is still the same. And you can use machines that were built close to a century ago to effectively do the same sort of thing using a mechanical wheel and printing and all that. So right now we're gonna call CQ again. One of the cool things that you can see at the bottom of the screen is the auto adhere for the mode. So if you are calling CQ or making any sort of transmission, it'll in the waterfall itself it'll show the mode. So if you've got a ICOM 7300 or something and you're looking at that on the screen, you can actually see what digital mode someone's using based on how it looks on the waterfall, which is pretty cool, and you can make some neat waterfall paintings that way. So we just keep watching the strip there and see if anybody comes back. So I'm only running at 20 watts right now. 40 meters is open, 20's closed right now near my house. So I'm not sure how far I'm going to get. I'm using a off-center fed dipole with 20 watts right now. And so conceivably I could get up and down the West Coast. And if someone locally here in the San Francisco Bay Area were to respond to my CQ. But when it comes to, these sort of keyboard to keyboard type digital modes, uh, it's more like fishing, and fishing in a stream, not in a huge lake like with FT8 or some of the other digital modes where there's huge watering hole frequencies where everybody's at. With Feldhell, at least on 40 meters, it's from about 70, 80 to 70, 90, and there's a lot of other digital modes in that area, so you sort of have to watch out for other people's transmissions to make sure that you're not stepping on other people in other modes, especially if the expeditions are using that space for DX context using like DX4, I'm sorry, FT4 or FT8. So sometimes in the noise you see things, and sometimes it looks like things, especially if it repeats, um, but sometimes not. So we'll just keep calling CQ until something comes through. The response from the other side is not as clear as what I'm transmitting. Um, it'll come through darker, but it will have gray in the background, but it'll be cleanly delineated. So if we were to have takers, it would be very similar to how you would have a QSO with RIDI or PSK31. Um, you can't click on the call since it's just an image, so you'd basically go to the call area up here and you'd type in the remote call, and so then you would have you'd follow the QSO pattern. So if since I'm calling CQ, someone else would use the answer mode, and then I would go to the QSO mode with their call sign, and then we would complete that um, two-way QSO. Um, there's also things that you can do with there's a brag or a QTH information. So we'll call CQ again, and since no one else is out there right now, I can give a demo of what it looks like when you put out that information, and maybe with me transmitting on 40 meters, someone would actually want to come back on that. But there's something about the forward error correction of putting things in triplicate, especially when you have fading. One of the contests that I really enjoyed participating in for 2 years was the Hellfest contest that was not sponsored but promoted through the Ham Radio Crash Course Discord, and that was actually quite fun. I made a lot of contacts there, especially with a pretty low powered station. And at that point, I'm trying to remember which antenna I had up, but it was pretty meager, and I was able to make a fair number of contacts. So, like I was saying with um, other parts, so there's also um, let's see. So if you put in the information on the brag, so like what the QTH is and the brag, so we can put all that and we can go in and transmit it. So if we want to, oh, there we go. So now I am transmitting it, the information that is in the blue window. And you'll see it as it crawls across. Actually, I need to update my brag. So this is right now I'm using a G90 at 20 watts, so I better update that, but it's in the middle of transmitting. But as with in any mode, it's a lot more fun when there's someone else to talk to. That's why some of the contests are really cool for these modes coming up. There's the Radio Roundup, and there's other digital modes contests that are out there, and sometimes you get a ton of activity all at that time, as well as some of the tests, sprints that are on a weekly basis. You get a chance to operate for a while. I know that I set up a Feld Hell. Um, I can't remember their society or club. I set up one of their numbers for that so I can participate in their contests, but I've never actually done that, um, and I really should because it's actually super fun. All right, so I'm going to call CQ again. In a little bit, I'm just going to make sure that there's no other response. I don't see anything. All right. So as you can see in the transmission, you can see that it's hell. So on any kind of waterfall, even on something not connected up to a computer, if you're on just a 7300 or uh, a 710 or a DX10 or any sort of unit with a waterfall display, you'd be able to see that. The cool thing about digital modes through like FLdigi is it's a free piece of software, um, and so all it takes is a download. It'll operate on Linux, it'll operate on Windows, so you can use it on incredibly cheap or almost free hardware and free software that you can just download and burn onto a computer. So if you're looking to try something out new, it's really easy to convert an old laptop into a digital mode workstation. You just slap something like Ubuntu Linux and interface it with your radio. With a USB sound card interface. There's a lot of really inexpensive devices. I'm a big fan of the DigiRig. That's fairly inexpensive, but there's things that are even cheaper. And it's really easy to homebrew things as well. Sometimes they're just you know physically messier than some of the integrated solutions. I'm gonna call CQ again, and if I don't hear anything else, I'll probably just close this out. But um, it's really cool playing around with some of these. In the past, one of the contests that I participated in, I made a contact with a gentleman, which his call sign eludes me right now, um, that operated the contest from a POTA entity. So he did every one of his contest QSOs was a POTA activation credit, QSO. So that's actually super cool. Uh, so let's see. So it's done with its transmission. Hello, anybody out there? Well, maybe I need to set up a sked with someone to show how cool this mode can be. But it's a lot of fun. It's a great contest mode. It's really cool when you can just look on the waterfall and you can see other stations calling CQ. All right, thanks. This has been Aaron, N6ACA. Hope to talk to you all soon. Goodbye.